What specific mistakes do you think Bravo and your castmates made, and how could they have done better when it came to telling your story of coming out and your story of beginning your sobriety journey?
Like it or not, I was the first gay housewife, gay housewife.
Which is amazing.
They kind of just shut that door and said, okay, we don't want to deal with that. We're going to come up with a nicer way to tell LGBTQ stories, to make them, more straight washed. It was not easy to be the first gay housewife. There should have been a little more grace.
Someone told me, and this is not my place to really talk about, but that Sean moved out and that girl moved in.
Is that her lesbian lover?
I don't know, but she won't talk to us about anything.
Oh, there she is. We're just talking about you.
Shocking. This is great.
Beautiful. How long has this been sitting out?
They weren't putting anything out till we were coming up.
Oh, coming out. Some people are coming out.
They took some really beautiful stories and very hard stories, but overall very real stories. And they didn't do any of them justice. They made them salacious. They made them dirty. I was on that show for 2 years and you never really got a chance to know me or my family. The way that they painted me, she's self-centered, she's a narcissist. None of those things were true. Even my story on coming out and getting sober were tainted by people not believing it. And I really do believe that Bravo did a huge, huge disservice to the LGBTQ community and the sober community.
Oh my God, yeah.
By not giving those stories, the grace they deserved. And that's not how life is. That's not how coming out is. Coming out can be beautiful and easy for some, and it can be very hard for others. Yeah. And I think it's important to show all sides of that.
Yeah. And it's also really invalidating kind of that people were saying like they didn't believe it or they didn't think it was true, not just for my mom, but for other people who come out like later in life. Yeah. It's insanely invalidating to hear people say that, oh, she's just lying, oh, it's not true, because people like to see their stories reflected on other people, which is why it's so important to share them. And just saying that like, oh, it's not true, it could make other people think like at home, well, like, what is this?
And especially with the sobriety stuff, people invalidating that.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, you're hurting people right now. There's lives that could be saved. And by you, going for the dirty dig, you're hurting people. Like at the end of the day, it's a show about drama, but you do need to have some humanity at a base level. And I didn't have that with my cast members.
If you made a commitment to make things work with Sean, why aren't you telling Shari you can't be here 24/7?
Because I like her around.
But do you feel like that's being selfish and maybe not addressing his needs?
100%. But I kind of need to be selfish right now.
I think every decision that Braunwyn makes in life is to better Braunwyn. I guess by vow renewal, you just meant continue to pay the bills, Sean, so I can live the same lifestyle, but I'm just going to be with my girlfriend now. That's beyond putting your needs first. That's just doing whatever the you want, and you don't care what anybody else thinks.
I think that one of the things that a lot of the shows should do, and many of them do this, is they have someone on set. I work with GLAAD a lot with Anthony Ramos, and he does that. He goes to sets and he teaches people, how do you tell LGBTQ stories honestly? How do you do them justice? Even though Bravo is, considered a gay network because there are so many people, in the community behind the scenes, the higher ups aren't. So I really do think that Bravo would do itself a justice if it could hire people in the community to say, hey, this is what's important right now. This is how we tell a coming out story. This is what we need to do to be more sensitive to these issues. Making off-color jokes about me being intimate with a woman, that's not okay. Those are microaggressions. Taking someone that's sober and putting them in a situation where people are saying they're not and, calling behind their back, that's not okay. We shouldn't give that airtime. 1/100th of what we film makes it onto the show. Yeah, so you can choose what you want. So one, I think it's important for anyone on any network to hire people that do this for a living. But I will say, after I came out, having to prove that I was gay, like I had to prove I was an alcoholic and then prove that I was gay. That should never have been tolerated. Yeah. That is a microaggression. That is homophobia. And that leads into that conservative left-wing thing of dismissing people. I deal with enough in my real life living in a conservative town. I shouldn't have had to deal with that when I was just trying to, come out, break down barriers for other women.
Rowan, as you've watched your mom break down these barriers, how has that impacted your own journey to understanding your sexual identity better?
It was like a big part of it. because I'm pansexual, and I pretty much throughout my life, like when I was younger, I always just kind of thought it was normal for girls to like other girls, that it didn't really mean anything. She always like kind of liked girls, and I saw that. Like I saw that when I was younger, which is why I just kind of thought it was normal, but like everybody did. And then when she came out and said that she's a lesbian, I was like, I like girls too. And so that was literally the whole conversation.
That was her coming out story.
That was my coming out story.
Oh, I like girls too.
I like girls too. But it was like a big part of me actually being able to find that identity in that label. And I went by bi for a while, but then I realized that it wasn't actually bisexuality, because I love every single different kind of gender and everyone. I love them like based on the person and not like their gender. But it was a big part of me being able to like look into myself and find that identity. And that helps me a lot, like not just with sexuality, but knowing myself as a whole, which helps along my journey of becoming a better person, a better me, better mentally, better physically, just knowing myself.
How has your experience on The Real Housewives sort of informed the way that you will approach potential future reality TV projects? Like, what have you learned? What lessons have you learned that you'll take with you onto the next show, if you guys are even interested in that?
This is a conversation we actually have had. There have been some opportunities presented to us, one in particular. And I did ask the kids, how would you feel about this? And when we were doing some of the beginning stages of it, I made sure that the older kids were on the Zoom, and they had a chance to talk and get to know the people behind it, and sort of get to know the process. What is this going to be? Is this going to be something salacious where you destroy our family? Because we did that and we didn't like it.
We're done with that. Been there, done that.
We don't want to do that again. Or is this going to be, a truth telling? Is this going to be sharing the highs and lows of a family that loves each other so much? There's so much love here, that stumbles through life, but does it together. We laugh a lot. I think that's the one thing you never saw about us.
We stumble and laugh.
And we laugh hysterically at each other. Like after the kids sort of got to know, the people behind this, they were like, okay, I'm comfortable saying, yes, I can do this. It is so nice not being on such a toxic television show where like you can't joke about anything and like everything's taken out of context. Because for a while afterwards, I'm like, I don't want to talk ever. I had some like, trauma from that.
Safe to say you would never come back to Housewives. That ship has sailed.
It's incredibly toxic.
It's very toxic. I too have my own mental health struggles. And I don't want to put myself in that environment again. When I was in it, I loved it. I'm not going to say I didn't. I did. I enjoyed it. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm so grateful for the platform. I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements on sobriety. I'm traveling around the country, talking to people about it. That fills my soul. That's my passion. And I wouldn't have had this platform without the show. So I am so grateful. But now I know where my interests lay. I know where my heart is. I know what fills my soul up and me up. And that's giving back. That is where I am. Mental health issues, sobriety, LGBTQ issues. Like this is where my heart lays. This is where my future is.
I'm sure that being on the show also, all the pressure that came from the show probably didn't help the mother-daughter relationship.
No.
Not
and
at all.
it filming takes a lot of time, but then the emotional stress that my cast members put me through, there was a lot of lies made up about me. Most of them I haven't addressed. It's all in the book I'm writing. There's a lot of times that we were put on gag orders. We couldn't talk about it. And that was hard to have your character so vilified and not be able to speak about it. And so even when I was at home sometimes, I was so low that I wasn't present for my children. For me, being present for my kids is the most important thing. I love waking up in the morning with them. I love picking them up from school and hearing about their days. And so I'm so grateful to have kind of the best of both worlds. I still have a platform where I get to do fun interviews. I get to do amazing events. I still have some opportunities, to be in front of the camera again that are more in line with who I think we are. But I don't have to do it in a way that breaks women down. I'm really into building women up. Or people up, really into building people up. And it just wasn't the right fit for me.